Hey guys, hey, last couple of weeks I've been talking about the good enough principle. And so today I wanted to go through what that actually means because it is an agile project management thing, right? It's a thing in project management. But um, but it also is a part of the Scrum framework. And what they talk about in the Scrum framework is the build at least part of it sort of mindset. And so I wanted to talk about it, how it relates to you as an online entrepreneur, because, of course, it's about software development, that sort of thing. But it really can apply to you if you think about the stuff that you're producing, right? Your content, your courses, maybe some lead magnets, that sort of thing, or maybe you're even developing a book, right? And so the thing about this whole thing called the good enough principle, I actually like to think of it as the done for now principle. And the reason why is because as good scrummers, we are going to embrace that cycle, right, of continuous improvement. And so we might create something. I have a perfect example actually. Last year, I created a little document that I gave out for free, and it was called Obstacle Slayer. And all it was at that time was a little journaling tool so that you could start writing down some of the things that you like overcame, right? Some of the obstacles that you dealt with, you overcame, and just kind of give you that sense of like, empowerment, right? And so not just that, but also it gave you a way to record and almost like create a little desk manual for yourself. Like if you ran into an obstacle, you ran into something, then you can write out how you overcame that obstacle or how you overcame that thing. Think about tech issues, that sort of thing, right? Um, and so you write it down. You end up with sort of a desk manual that you could create for yourself that has like different problems that you faced and how you resolve them, so that you don't have to keep going through the process of just trying to figure it out every single time. You give yourself like a little fast track, a cheat sheet, so that you can get it done faster. Well, the same thing with, hi, Becky. It's the same thing with all of your content, right? And so I created this thing called Obstacle Slayer. And then this year I went through the continuous improvement process on it, and I expanded it. And it went from, just a few pages long to now it's, nearly 20 pages long. And I keep going through it. Every year I'm going to go through and add more to it, add features, fix bugs, make it better, make it into the version 3 of this thing, right? Just like the iPhone, they go through the same process, right? Remember, the iPhone 1 came out and it didn't have a forward facing camera, right? And so they went ahead and released it anyway with this good enough principle because they wanted to get it out on time, right? They announced it 6 months earlier that they were going to come out with this product called the iPhone, and they needed to be on time. And that helped them be on time was to say, okay, we're going to put the camera in, but we're not going to have the forward facing camera. We're going to call it good enough for now. That's why I like to say it's done for now, not done forever, right? Because then they go through this process of basically auditing what their iPhone is doing, what all that, what their work had entailed, what their original goals were. And they also gather information from their users and from their stockholders or whoever else, right? To determine what else that they need to add as a feature to this iPhone product so that they can make it better and better and better. And now, as the iPhone 13, they've got this really sophisticated camera, and it has all these multiple lenses now and all that stuff, right? But sometimes I think that we have to be at the iPhone 13 that right out of the gate, like when we're first or second year out of, in our business. And it takes time to develop those things, just like with the iPhone. It wasn't perfect. It came out with some bugs. Look at Facebook. They use the good enough principle. Google uses the good enough principle, and they get their products out there, get that feedback, get the information, get more information on what people need, how they're satisfied with what they've produced, and then they can respond in their next iteration by fixing bugs, adding the features that people needed, and they keep prioritizing, right? And how do we prioritize as a good scrummer? How do we do it? Must have, should have, could have, and won't have at this time. Because that's part of our continuous improvement process, right? It is the continuous improvement process is to always be evaluating, identify opportunities, and then you sort of plan and you develop a strategy and you prioritize all the things that you want to do, and then you get it out there and you try again. So let's think about the content creation cycle, okay? So when you're creating content, you might, like, let's say you're creating content once a week and you want to stick to a schedule of once a week, you're going to create some new content, a blog post, a podcast or a YouTube or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Maybe all of the above, right? And um, and so you give yourself this once a week. You've got to create something. Well, that doesn't mean that you keep writing and writing and writing and doing all the things that you need to do over your deadline. Instead, you stick to your deadline and you basically cut bait, right? When you have to. So let's say you are like what I do. I go live every week and I create a blog post just about every week. But sometimes I don't have time. I have too many things on my plate and I don't have time to get that blog post out there. So I basically cut bait and I call it good enough for now. And then I have that topic on my editorial calendar to complete that blog post and get it out there and get it published, sometime in the future when I have a little break or a little bit of time or whatever. And that could be a while. It may not come for a little while, but it doesn't really matter because the next week I'm going to create more content and I'm going to put it out there. And most of the time I have time to get the blog post out there. Just once in a while I don't, if I'm on a big project or a big deadline or something that I'm trying to make, then I can cut that. But I always consistently create content every week, even if it's not completely published yet. But but I get it out there in different formats, right? I get it out there in video, in a podcast, and in social media posts and that sort of thing, so that I can get my messages out there. But then I always circle back and come back with that blog post, at a later date. So that's kind of that good enough principle of how you can think about it in terms of a content creation life cycle, right? Same thing with a course. Like, let's say you create a freebie and you decide that is good enough material that you want to develop that into a course. Well, you can take this good enough principle, this continuous improvement cycle, and you can start building on it and building it, fleshing it out more and more and more and more as you go. And that way you can develop it into course over time without it being like, that's it, I got to stop everything I'm doing and dedicate myself to create this course now, and I'm not going to do anything else. Well, you can't do that. Your business would come to a screeching halt, right? You have clients to see, or products to create, other things to create, content to create, social media to do, marketing, networking. You've got all those things to do, right? So you need to fit it in as you go. And that's where the good enough principle and the build at least part of it, that's really how it is in Scrum. You build at least part of it, get it out there, figure out what people really want, and then you keep developing it and, adding features, fixing the bugs, fixing the problems, and then get it out there again and repeat the cycle over and over and over again, right? And here's the thing is, that course or whatever that you're developing, for as long as that thing is a course, you want to go through the continuous improvement cycle, right? Because nobody wants to buy a course. Let's say they spend good money on a course or something, $50 or something, or even $100 or 97, whatever. And have you ever done this where you get to the course and you're all excited, you start working on the course and it's really outdated? Like, all the screenshots they're showing you of something like Facebook or whatever are completely outdated. something that hasn't been around in years, a feature or something like that. Well, nobody wants that. You feel sort of ripped off, right? When you get something that's so out of date. So making sure you're going through a continuous improvement cycle until you retire that thing. It is the really the best way for you to, one, you not only do it review and improve it, right? You go through an audit process, you review the whole thing, you make a list of all the things that you need to improve or bugs you need to fix or whatever. You prioritize that list, and then you start working on it. And maybe some things you are, not, they're not going to happen, right? There won't have at this time, but you're going to fix those main ones, right? The must haves and the should haves, that sort of thing. And then that gives you an opportunity to re-release it with fresh marketing, so that you can say, hey, it's been updated, right? It's been updated, it's now up to date, and you can get the new version now. And now you've actually added more features to it, so you really can justify charging more for it every single year, because it becomes more and more valuable as you add to it, right? Same thing with, well, I guess, with cell phones, they're getting cheaper because the technology gets cheaper, right? But when it comes to producing content and stuff, your time and your time is very valuable, and you're putting a lot of time and effort into that. But what I love about this concept too is it helps you keep your scope smaller, so that you stay focused on your area of expertise, right? And of course, we all feel like we have to keep expanding and creating more and more and more, but creating better and better and better instead of more and more and more might be a better approach for you. And it's really up to you to decide how you want to do that. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, if you keep creating better and better and better, like the iPhone, they didn't come out with an iPhone and then come out with a different phone and a different phone, a different one, a different one, a different one, right? They came out with an iPhone, and then they stuck with the iPhone, and they keep making it better and better and better and better. And that is really the approach that you can take to, one, stop feeling overwhelmed, keep yourself on a schedule that you want to keep, like, your content creation cycle where you're creating something every week. And then allow yourself that the permission to go retouch that thing and improve on it later, so that you can release that perfectionism paralysis, right? You can escape that, because now you don't really need to be perfect, because you're going to visit it later. You're going to make improvements to it later. And the beauty of that is, when you do make those improvements, you can send out a survey, or you can get feedback from people. Maybe you're getting feedback from people along the way already, just by talking to people, right? And then what you need to do for the next iteration through this thing. So think about that as you start building out your stuff, that the good enough principle, the done for now, right, is a really nice approach to managing all the things that you have to do, right? So you don't stay in that overwhelmed state, because you can't marry the things that you're doing, right? You can't like stay married to them forever. You got to get them out the door. And this allows you to get things out the door a little bit quicker, a little bit sooner, and allows you to get that feedback. So you might even see some people do this, like they'll put in, like Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs, for example. They'll post something that says, hey, I have this free thing, and who wants it before I make it a paid for option? Well, they're using the good enough principle as well. They're getting it out there. They want to get that feedback, maybe get some testimonials, that sort of thing, and then get it back out there with improvements and fixed bugs and, whatever, just, typos. Well, who knows, whatever, you might come up with as you do an audit on that thing. So going through and auditing your work and staying focused on improving what you already have is a great approach to building that solid foundation for your business to thrive. All right, you guys. So I hope that helps. And I hope that you embrace this so that you can get out of that perfectionism problem and get your business moving forward and actually release stuff. I see it so often where people create stuff and then they just sort of they go through this perfectionism struggle, and then they finally just scrap it and do something else because they just don't think it's good enough. But it is. It's good enough. Get it out there. Get it out to people you trust. If you're scared to get it out to the public, get it out to somebody so that you can get some feedback on it. And then also you can put it away for a while, and then go back and audit it. And when you audit things, as opposed to just rereading it, reviewing, if you take an audit approach as you review your work, then you're more objective, right? You're not thinking about it as this personal failure on your part. You're just looking at what needs to be fixed, right? Where are the problems? What needs to be fixed? And then you prioritize that list, right? It's less personal. It's not all on you, right? It's just part of the process. Okay? All right, you guys, I will see you in the comments. Bye.